Holy 60s throwback, Batman! Tiki here, and I've been watching through each and every episode of Batman, the animated series, for the first time. And alas, I thought we had come to the high point of this show, but maybe we have artistically, but this episode is so right up my alley that we might have hit a new favorite. Dragon, tell us why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow. A vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way.
Tonight we're talking about the Legends of the Dark Knight. Dragon, this might be my new number one.
Yeah, this is quite the heralded one.
Yeah, I love the crap out of this. I mean, I will say, like it's obviously not the most deep. Like, if you look at the show from like, oh, it's a parable and philosophical and like obviously there's a lot of episodes that have like a bigger emotional impact. But goddamn, Dragon, if this doesn't just sum up the character in 20 minutes, I don't know what does. I mean, Dragon, if it was just the fan service, that'd be great, and it would be among my favorite episodes. What I think makes this one of the best episodes is how we tie that fan service into the story, into people's perceptions of Batman. I freaking love the ending. The ending is just like a chef's kiss. It's like a Kevin Smith end credits moment, if you will. I don't know, Dragon. I just kind of dig everything about this. I just hope that the podcast doesn't get too bogged down to like, oh, look at that cool Easter egg. Look at that cool Easter egg. Because we could be here all day, buddy. Genuinely, like, some of the coolest throwbacks to 60s Batman and homages to to good Frank Miller that I've ever seen, Dragon. This is just some fantastic stuff. It really is.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. Hype it up.
All right, so a little background. There's a really fun story behind this one. Okay, so Legends of the Dark Knight. This was directed by the great Dan Reba. Of course, Dan Reba's give you a couple examples just for the Joker of this episode. He directed Joker's Millions for New Adventures, which is a really fun one. Did a Baby Doll, from the old guard of episodes. Of course, a very, very memorable one. Let's see. So the writer on this. So the writer was kind of a team of writers. Was Bruce Timm and Bob Goodman, but also just the Scotia Paul Dini. So of course, Bob Goodman essentially
he's just a dash of Dini, Dragon. Just a dash of Dini.
Dash of Dini, mainly in the premise. So basically, Paul Dini assisted Bruce Timm in the premise, and then basically Bob Goodman ran with it. So Bob Goodman, he essentially is like, that's the passing of the torch between Dini and Goodman. Goodman's like, Goodman and Stan Berkowitz, they're the go-to writers. These guys are like the top-tier writers, but Bob Goodman especially. Goodman lives up to his namesake. He's a good man when it comes to writing. Just to give you an example, like he did Double Talk, he did Growing Pains, and various not quite within the animated series, but the big, very poignant, very connective thing to this episode. He went on to write and adapt the Dark Knight Returns animated films.
Sure.
So this is where he got the beginnings with that.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
They got the right guy for that.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's see. So the studio worked on this. It was Coco with a little sploosh of Dong Yang. Of course, they had done the other kind of vignette or anthology episode, Holiday Nights, and a Torch Song, which features Firefly.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the really interesting backstory. You're going to love this. I think it's going to be one of your favorites for the backstories. Okay, so Bruce Timm saw Batman Forever, and he was, the way he talks about it sounds like he wasn't thrilled with it when he came out. I can't pinpoint how sarcastic he's being when he talks about Batman Forever, so either it wasn't crazy bad or it got him thinking. Essentially, it got him thinking about kind of where we are with Batman at that point, which, I don't know if that was at the 50-year mark or not with the character. I'm not sure, but it was like, it would have been 95, roughly. Anyway, the point being, So basically, Bruce Timm wanted to pay tribute to the many iterations and incarnations of Batman. Assumedly, I mean the way I kind of interpret is that I'm not thrilled with this Batman, but I love so many other different versions of Batman. Let's do an episode. Let's do an episode about that, about kind of Batman, how we and kind of how the fandom responds to that, and the animated series way back in the early days. And this is the episode no one ever talks about, by the way, because everyone always goes to this episode, and it's worth it. Don't get me wrong, this is the better episode, but still. POV, way back in the first season with the GCPD. Yeah, they attempted the Rashomon story idea. Like basically, we're going to go through different POVs of different GCPD officers.
That one was quite good. I remember that one.
So that was the first time they attempted something kind of like this. So that was kind of like I imagine that kind of factored into like, okay, we structure-wise, let's do it a little bit like that, but let's change up the demographic. So. As I said, Dini and Tim, they go with the premise, Goodman runs with the ball. But there's the part you're going to love.
Okay.
So, coincidentally, I'm not kidding, sheerly coincidentally, it's not like it's like a Hollywood talk like, oh, coincidentally, though, by sheer accident, Bruce Timm came to a horrific realization during the production. So, again, he originally pitched this story pretty much as I've laid it out, just kind of came to him like that. But Batman number 250 did this exact same story.
Oh no!
3 kids, the whole kit and caboodle, and then realized this was in production. Here's how that happened. So the 250 is a story by Frank Robbins and Dick Giordano. Basically, the guy who kind of did like the '60s Batman style in comics. That's one of Giordano's kind of stamps there. Anyway. So it's 3 kids with these different POV stories about like Batman encounters. Exact same story.
Oh God! Wow.
And Bruce Timm didn't find this out till like into the animation stage of the production because
it's like too late at that point. It's like no turning back.
But the reason why is hilarious.
Okay.
So all the animators, pretty much everyone involved, maybe Dini too, I guess, everyone pretty much assumed Bruce Timm was inspired by that comic, or he was adapting that.
Oh God!
So no one ever brought it up. It was like, oh yeah, so wait, this is already a comic. Yeah, it is. Like, what? You didn't tell me this? Why? We thought you knew. We thought that was the point.
Oh man.
So they cleared things with the Dick Sprang's family and Frank Miller. They called Frank Miller. So here's the thing: they called Frank Miller. Left some messages.
It was pretty surreal to see Frank Miller's name in the credits. I'll say that.
Well, here's the thing: when they called Frank Miller, left a couple messages on his machine, and he basically said, he loves Batman. He really liked Batman the animated series, and he said it's in good hands. It couldn't be in better hands. So
that's nice. That's
nice. Really sweet. This is before.
That was like right before he went off a cliff.
Yeah. He doesn't get crazy until the 2000s, if I recall.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so let's see. Last thing. This is the most important thing. So possibly the most important thing. So years later, in homage to this episode, big homage. This is like the blueprint for what they did later. So do you remember the animated film Gotham Knight at all? By the time The Dark Knight was coming out, that ring any bells for you?
Oh yes, I do. Yes,
the Animatrix Batman thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So that I like that more than most. But that movie, it's a bunch of vignettes, a bunch of different segments, and the first segment of that film is called "Have I Got a Story for You?" and it's basically based on this episode where you have 3 kids with different POVs on Batman and telling different iterations of Batman. So, and of course, the other side, as I already mentioned, we get Dark Knight Returns thanks to Goodman, thanks to this episode. For what if we gave like the keys to the Miller Kingdom to the guys who know what they're doing? But they could fully just take it on. Basically do what Zack Snyder wishes he could do. Mm-hmm. And Bob's your uncle. That's the episode. All right.
Okay. Oh, boy. I'm excited to get into this one, Dragon. Let's just go ahead and start things off. So, yeah, we see 3 kids, including who I'm convinced is Carrie Kelly.
Okay, like these kids have names. You're going to like this. So,
okay.
So they have the 3 kids, like, gravitated, very enticed by the newspaper, third suspicious firebombing, fire arsonist thing in Gotham. They think they glimpse Batman in the paper. You have Matt, Carrie, and Nick. So, Carrie, just literally for Carrie Kelly.
Yeah, like that's gotta be just like, I'm convinced that's like in canon her character.
So Matt and Nick, actually these are nods to family of the producers and the guys involved behind the scenes. So Matt is Paul Dini's nephew, hence the whole uncle thing of the story. The kid's uncle encountered Batman, therefore the uncle is kind of Paul Dini in a sense.
Okay. Nice.
And
Nice.
Alan Burnett, I believe Alan Burnett's son is Nick, the one, the Fangs kid.
All right.
All right,
And then
so
also, Dragon, really quick before I forget, Rob and Dawn, are they just characters from Dark Knight Returns, or
yes,
are
they
they?
are.
Okay, okay.
So,
So it's not like a pointed Rob Liefeld reference or something.
when I watched it for the first time way back when, I thought it was Rob Liefeld. But okay, one last thing. So the familiar voice playing Carrie Kelly. Did you get just any sense of familiarity from Carrie Kelly at all?
Well, I mean, there's one big voice in the episode we have to get to, but Carrie Kelly, no.
Okay, so Carrie Kelly's voiced by Andy McAfee. If I'm saying that right, Andy McAfee. Sorry, Andy McAfee. She voiced Phoebe in Hey Arnold.
Oh my God! Oh wow!
And
Ashley
A, the lead Ashley from Recess, I believe.
I mean, now that you mention it, yes, that makes total sense.
There's another Hey Arnold alumni in
no,
this, but we'll get there.
Oh God. Okay.
All right. Okay. So the three kids, they're gravitated towards the newspaper because they think they see Batman. We set up the one that Matt has a little signal light. Little bat signal flashlight's going to come into play later in our story a couple times. So the trio, they're walking, they're talking, they're speculating about Batman, basically kind of picturing their ideal version of Batman, based on kind of what they want to be. They want Batman to be. So of course, paralleling the real life fans of Batman. Everyone has their own Batman, being kind of the shtick of the episode. Everyone has.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like that as kind of like a glue of, like, I feel like it's the cultural touchstones of Batman mixed with like the in-canon mythology of Gotham City and their interpretation of Batman. And I feel like those two things meld together in just such a great marriage in this episode, Dragon. I feel like they pull that split off really, really well. And I feel like that is that attachment to Gotham City and the mythology of it all is really what prevents this episode from being just fan service.
It's a great nexus between the actual Batman mythology and just the urban legend status that Batman has in his own stories. It's great. So Carrie here, she's saying, "Oh, that arsonist doesn't stand a chance with Batman on the case. He takes no prisoners." So I love that we kind of set up. She has like already has like a very Frank Miller kind of envisioned in mind. Like, he doesn't take prisoners. Then we have Nick, who says he's not human. He has like pterodactyl wings. He's like a pterodactyl-like creature with like giant bat wings.
Prisoners are 12-year-old boys. Heyo.
Well.
Now we have like this age 12.
All right. So we have like scree. The kids just going off about like he's like a bat creature, man. Then we have Matt, who, by the way, fun fact, Matt is played by Ryan O'Donoghue. Now, Ryan O'Donoghue plays Matt McGinnis in Batman Beyond. Plays Terry McGinnis' little brother, who's also named Matt.
Okay. Yeah.
Get more inspiration. That a lot of stuff pays off. It gets set up.
Interesting.
And also, Bob Goodman writes a lot of Batman Beyond. I don't know if that was the carryover or what. I don't know. All right, so Matt tees things off here. He mentions that his uncle, well, not at Dini, his uncle encountered Batman once, had a run-in with Batman once, and he's real nice. He and Robin are really funny. They have gadgets, and they make jokes sometimes. They got banter.
Oh boy! And here we go, Dragon.
The anthology begins.
Yes. So this has got to be like a straight-up 60s Batman homage, right? I imagine.
Technically 50s. This is 50s Batman.
Oh, so it's not just based on the Adam West version?
Don't get me wrong. There's gobs of West in it, for sure. I'm saying that. So Dick Sprang was the Batman artist in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
And his style is pretty much what inspired the 60s Batman show. So the point being, it's very much Dick Sprang is.
And is that style also what they used for the Hanna-Barbera Batman crossovers?
Well, pretty much, but it's like, obviously that was more Super Friends, but yeah.
Right, but I grew up on the Scooby-Doo meets Batman and Robin of it all. So that's kind of like I feel like this is kind of like a mix of 60s Batman and that sort of stuff.
Actually, no, T, you're right. I can clarify. So it's more so there's a lot of filmation in this Batman style. So filmation it's filmation very much tracked into the Super Friends, which tracked into the Hanna-Barbera crossovers. That's
kind of like what if we did an Adam West Batman movie way back, animated way back when.
Okay, so I gotta tell you this before we get into the Dick Sprang section. So you're gonna love this. So James Tucker James Tucker boarded this. This is before he became like, a bigger name on the DCAU. So he boarded this sequence, and he eventually becomes like a producer and writer on Justice League and all that stuff down the line. Now, James Tucker, he loves Silver Age. He's a big Silver Age fan, and he loves Batman 66. So this was his baby. He had a great time with this, and he goes on to do Batman Brave and the Bold, which is the full-on love letter to Silver Age. Basically, all of this was the prototype for Brave and the Bold for him. This gave him kind of the what that would be like translated in animation. So again, this is kind of the secret pilot to Batman Brave and the Bold.
Sure, nice. All right, so yeah, we see a very Filmation style animated cop sitting at a very 50s looking radio that the Joker comes on to, and Dragon. Oh my living God, who is voicing the Joker?
Oh, who better than the great Michael McKean?
Oh, I lost it, Dragon. I had to look it up. I will admit it was one of those situations where it's like, it sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it. And yeah, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, yes.
Okay, so I gotta talk about our setting here before we just go on a full-on love fest with McKean Joker. Okay, so...
Well, really quick, I just want to state that I think I would love to see like McKean play an older Joker in live action. I think that'd be fucking fantastic. I think he could bring the dark sides of the character out really well. I'm sorry, carry on.
A lot of awesome things here. I'm just trying to unpack it. So, okay. Okay, so the music. This is the Walker Music Center, which is very much a nod to Shirley Walker, who does the music on Batman. Now, Dick Sprang's big signature thing with Batman is he's the guy who brought in the oversized props. That was Dick Sprang's baby. So that's why I have all these oversized kind of music related.
Because of course, when I see the big props, I also think of 60s Batman. But yeah, that makes sense that they pull it from the comic. Sure,
it's full on Dick Sprang. He came up with all the giant stuff. That's why this is a full on love letter to Dick Sprang. Doing like a museum exhibits and everything. So
it's so fun.
And again, if you look at the animation style, that's the really genius thing that no one really talks about. Is that imagine how much they have to change their house style for this episode, because you have two different takes.
Oh, I know. That's what really blew my mind on this episode, for sure.
What they did is they have to do like the flat Filmation look, where it's like there are no real shadows, with the exception maybe like once when you have maybe a grand sweeping shadow, but like shadows are like. You don't have any subtle highlights or anything. You just have like just the flat black color.
What I like about the Filmation style that they go with is it feels very authentic visually. But I like that it's fluid enough to that the characters move in a way that gives it a little bit more life than the Filmation.
But it's also kind of like just the right amount of crappy too,
Yeah, it is. Like, it is. But I'm saying like it's a little bit of a quality of life upgrade in terms of how the characters move. Where it's like it adds just a little bit more synergy to the fights, where the fights are still like pretty badly edited intentionally in some spots.
But again, I just love how painstakingly imperfect it is. It's just like we have like the action and sound lines when the character moves. Like when the radio comes, I have like the little lines going on, like the stress lines. Yeah. And like all that sort of stuff. And the characters slide in the frame, and it's perfect. So it's McKean Joker, which by the way, McKean, because of the Bob Goodman of all possibly, I don't know. McKean is in Dark Knight Returns, the animated film. He's Joker's therapist. He's Dr. Bartholomew.
Oh, nice.
We kind of pulled that from, but yeah. So McKean Joker's great.
It feels like this episode is like the kind of just like the root of all these other Batman projects that it just keeps.
This thing was really important. Again, Tiki, if people, there are two things you can never take away from New Adventures. The reason no one's ever going to forget New Adventures, the people outside like the redesign, the revamp, is that you have Legends of the Dark Knight. Because again, that's the first time you got to see Frank Miller Batman. And of course, we have all the other stuff that like the Dick Sprang of it all, and of course, it leads in the Brave and the Bold, et cetera, et cetera. But also, Mad Love. Those are the two reasons you always have to factor that in.
Yeah,
the landmarks, and you have like your other stuff with the Nightwing of it all. If you have a third.
Sure.
All right. So McKean Joker, he's a lot of fun. What's really sweet about this too to me is that McKean always he has a very music-laden career. And he started off as a musician, the Spinal Tap, but also making him the Joker and having like a music-themed heist is perfect. for him, and he plays like the '50s Joker was always like Joker without the true menace. He's like, it wasn't like you're not scared of the Joker.
His design has a very like, especially in the smile, it has a very like yellow submarine blue meanies look to it, which I love.
Exactly, which translated to like the Mark Hamill Joker that we have, but you get to see kind of the building blocks of what gets us that.
Sure,
like,
sure. Except this one is like, I feel like with the Mark Hamill Joker, it's like, it's a little bit like, yeah, you kind of get the inspiration, but this is like very on the nose, like, oh yeah, like that is a blue meanie smile right there.
And that's the beautiful thing about the episode, Tiki, is that this whole episode is about distilling Batman down to the core roots and like kind of like the ones and zeros, like what gets us to where we're at and all these other interpretations. Where again, it starts here, and then we add elements to it like in later versions, and they kind of stick and they kind of reconfigure themselves around. Like you have like an animated series Batman, you have a Lego Batman. They're pulling from these elements. So, of course, the Joker, I better stay on my toes. Of course, now we break the internal logic. The kids are, wait a minute, he said I better stay on my toes? That's BS, man. That's why my uncle tells it. Come on. A little bit unreliable narrator in there, too. And I have a fan theory about this section. Real quick, I think that this is a reference. I think that the guard, I think the uncle, did have this encounter, but way back before the old school animated series, like when Dick Grayson was a young kid in the Robin costume,
right?
And again, Batman was a little bit lighter, and they would banter. I think this actually happened.
Oh man, that's great.
But again, just filtered through like the '60s lens.
Sure, yeah, totally.
All right, so it's okay. Anyway, so of course, Joker,
in some ways, this is like the earliest point of canon in Batman the Animated Series, except for the Bruce Wayne flashback stuff. Like, this is the earliest Batman stuff that we have.
Pretty much, it's a stylized filter, but yeah, for sure. So he locks the guard locks the doors. Then a Jack in the Box is thrown through the transom because why not? It has some knockout gas. He gets knocked. The Joker and the thugs kind of burst through the door.
Chivalry is dead.
So kind of you to get the door.
All right, and this is so Jack Nicholson Joker Dragon. Just him going through the museum. I love the little he does the little one note twang on the guitar. Mother always said I had talent.
The violin.
Yeah, no,
that's always my go-to.
Actually,
wait, what?
It's a ukulele.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Ukuleles.
Here's my favorite thing about the ukulele. So Joker's big plot here is that he's going to steal the Pagliacci sheet music, and he grabs he went to all this trouble to knock out the guard and grab his keys, and he just smashes it with the ukulele.
Right.
Oh, seriously, McKeon, I love how basically McKeon brings an appropriate sing-songiness to the Joker here. Mother always said I had talent, and this is the most punny Joker ever, and it's awesome. It's all about the music-themed puns here. The Music Meister will be proud. All right, so then Batman and Robin appear in great silhouette.
Oh yeah.
They deduced that Joker was going to be there.
Batman and Robin, I let me just say that the look does look, for me at least, it's straight out of the the Scooby-Doo meets Batman and Robin of it all.
For sure. I mean, if you had a yellow oval, it'd be 100%. Yeah. So absolutely, and also it's very pretty much like, what if the opening of the Adam West show? What if the opening was animated for a whole segment? That's pretty much the style, too.
Right. Or like, what if the Adam West show had an animated series in the vein of like Star Trek, the animated series or something?
Exactly. Yes. Which, I mean, that Filmation show was kind of the answer to that, but like, what if it was done like fully like that opening?
Right.
All right. So of course, like, the comedy is finished, Joker, as he's like making fun of the whole Pagliacci. The Pagliacci plan. They're basically saying, like, the line Joker said, like, the comedy is finished, which is a nod to Pagliacci's. Robin just kind of interjects there being the boy genius, boy wonder of it all. So we have fun new voices for Batman. So of course no one's gonna knock Conroy, but we have some great guest star Batman here. So guess who this Batman is?
I know who it is, Dragon, but I'm not familiar with the actor though.
It is Gary Owens, a.k.a. the voice of Space Ghost and Powdered Toast Man.
Oh, Space Ghost! Oh, totally. Yeah.
And Powdered Toast Man!
Oh my god, dude. Space Ghost was like a pinnacle of my childhood.
And also, again, back to the ones and zeros, man. I love it. It's Space Ghost, one of the stylistic inspirations for the animated series Batman.
Sure.
One of them. That and Flesh of Superman, obviously. But anyway. Okay, so point Batman and Robin crash the party here, and they're jumping on jumping down the giant props like the giant bongos and everything, drums and everything. The karate chop. Basically, they kick the henchman in the face.
I love this fight, Dre. It's just visually just a feast. I love the giant props so much. I love Robin using the long end of the horn thing as a weapon.
So Batman and Robin, they're evading gunfire, they're kicking goons, they're using these instruments within the fight, and we have these. We cut to the Joker during this fight. So unfortunately, we don't have Pal, Zap, and Wham. But what we do, and that might have been a legal issue too, by the way. There might be because at the time they didn't have the rights to '60s Batman, so I don't know where exactly the Pal, Zap, and Wham falls, or they just didn't want to animate it. I don't know how exactly.
Makes sense, yeah.
Because it was hard to superimpose those words at the time. But that was the '60s though, so I don't think it would have been a problem in animation. Regardless, so what we do is we kind of feel that though. So every time Batman and Robin are punching these guys, we cut to the Joker, give him an over the top reaction, get these great over the top reactions. So then Batman's use trombones and cymbals and giant Robin leaps on a giant metronome to kick a guy, which is awesome. A little Better Call Saul connect, Chuck with the metronome.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so Joker then drops, no joke, Joker drops a tuba on Robin to ensnare him. And then Batman...
This is a sort of silly nonsense that you would never see in straight Kevin Conroy Batman the Animated Series.
Never. Then Batman's hit with a tuning fork, and then I'll make a note of that, says the Joker. All these great puns. So then we have
the Act One break going out with the iris.
Yeah, and take it. That is full on. That's pulled right from a classic panel, Dick Sprang, when they have the iris on the Joker looking all sinister like that. It's perfect.
Oh, nice.
That is the most Dick Sprang shot in the whole thing. Yes, that is. I'm done fiddling with. I'm not done fiddling with them yet.
All right. So Act 2, Dragon, we have the hostage situation with the guard.
Yeah, so the guard wakes up. He comes to report on this part of the story. Again, unreliable narrator. We call that later. But he was asleep for half of it. So then we have, I think, possibly one of the all-time great death traps. So great. And Rick and Morty homaged this, by the way. When they did the giant piano there, they were referencing this. So we have the giant piano death trap. We have Batman and Robin. They're tied up, and originally it was just going to be the thing was going to slam on. And then I realized, how can we make this better? We'll put them on the inside of the guts of the piano, and Joker just going to play the keys in this ridiculously fully functioning, oversized piano, and they'll be crushed.
Roll, Robin, roll!
They'll just be crushed by the thing. Roll, Robin. So again, just it's imagine if '60s Batman had such a big budget they could do this. It was
totally.
God, it's the ultimate '60s death trap ever.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Evading the chords, and again, Michael McKean's music history paid off here. Okay, let's see. Bathooven's last movement. That's what he calls
God.
Anyway, so of course they're hitting the notes and everything. Batman and Robin are rolling off the thing. Batman pulls out the mini buzzsaw gadget, which is really cool. Little mini handheld buzzsaw to cut through the ropes as they're rolling for their lives. I should have worn earplugs. Well, since Robin, I guess. Anyways, the point being they break free. They're throwing batarangs. They escape the last thing. We had the fake out though, because oh god, they're trapped. They're cornered. And it comes down. Bam! Oh no! But they're good. Throwing batarangs, they're getting out of there, getting out of Dodge. Joker's running away. As Robin nabs the thugs with using. This is great. He uses the bow from cello.
It's so good. It's so good, Dragon. Oh my god, I love all this oversized prop humor.
Here's what cracks me with the Robin thing: is that he used the bow like a bow and arrow.
Yes.
So then Batman's catching the fleeing Joker in the most ridiculous, hilarious way possible.
Oh god, I can't even.
It sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not.
No. This is one of those situations where every time I try and like describe it, I can't stop laughing. Dragon, it's so ridiculous.
So Batman, no joke, he leaps from a drum on like the little foot pedal of an oversized drum to a saxophone on wheels, a giant saxophone on wheels.
Yes.
And this is where it gets. This is the one. There's just Batman riding on a giant sax, which I could buy, Tiki, but this is where it just gets ridiculous. where he plays the fully functioning, which makes no sense.
Batman playing a musical instrument is where the line is drawn for you. Not the fact that it's a giant musical instrument, but the fact that it's Batman playing it.
Exactly. It's the fact that how the heck can he play a giant saxophone?
It's a fucking woodwind, man. It's like that is, or I'm saying it's technically a brass.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's impossible.
Dragon, first of all, I just want to state for the record, please get me this as the thumbnail.
Really? You want I was going to go with the piano. You want this?
I want this. I think
if I can find it, sure.
I mean, the piano's good. Don't get me wrong. The piano's a good backup.
The piano's like the money shot. They have like Joker's big Dick Sprang head.
Right, but I feel like this just sums up the weirdness of the episode so well.
All right. So anyways, Batman's playing the giant saxophone, which basically Joker, like he falls into it, so he's being kind of deafened by like my ears. So then the thing kind of stops and kind of propels him as they roll into the, no joke, and again even better, big 60s Batman, not all the labels, all the labels, humongous flute, trips over the humongous flute and lands into the harp.
I want to go to this museum.
I know, right?
They should put this museum in like a theme park. That'd be fucking. Or it'd make a great queue for a Batman ride.
That it would. Especially if you like walk up and down the giant props.
Right.
You like the big piano. Anyway. All right, so let's see. So we've ensnared the Joker in the harp, and then we have the money shot, the other money shot. Well done, old chum. They're doing the handshake. They're doing the 60s Batman handshake, man. Right there.
Old chum, you gotta be kidding. The whole story's bogus.
Yeah, they're calling BS on old chum. Come on. And again, they're questioning the logic of the knocked out uncle and everything. So then we have this makes me think again, perhaps Bruce Timm did not look favorably on Batman Forever at the time. So they're walking down the street, the kids.
Oh, this isn't even Batman and Robin. Oh,
no,
God.
It's Batman Forever.
Oh, I can't imagine what Batman and Robin.
Remember, because they did Sub-Zero essentially out of sequence. Like while they were preparing for this and everything, they did Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero came out when Batman and Robin did.
All right,
anyway, yeah, go on.
I'm going to state for the record, this is mean-spirited, and now that Joel Schumacher's not with us anymore, this just makes me feel sad.
And as for the record, I'd like Batman Forever, just getting it in there, you know.
And for the record, I've always preferred Batman and Robin because Batman and Robin doesn't take itself seriously. But anyways.
No one talks about Kilmer as Batman. Anyway. So we have a Schumacher joke here. And it's not, I don't think, like, it could have been a lot worse, but, you know, it was kind of like fun and dismissive. I don't know. It was basically Schumacher, we have this long-haired kid, very much with the Schumacher hair. Joel Schumacher's known for, like, the long hair and everything. I assume he's like decorating the mannequins at his family store. I believe that's the idea. There's like shoemakers on the side there, so they kind of get in there. Hey, we're not saying Schumacher, we're saying shoemaker. Anyway, so they're coming by. Oh yeah, Batman. You're talking about Batman. I love Batman. He's got muscles. He's got the tight rubber armor. You know,
I love that the muscles and the tight rubber armor are the first thing to come to mind for Joel Schumacher because of course they are.
Yep, and of course I heard his car can drive up walls. And then we have, I don't know, this is so this is, I mean, I think it's just mean-spirited enough without being cruel. It's like, yeah,
I'm not
sure,
offended by it, Dragon. I'm just saying, now that the man's dead, it feels a little bit in poor taste. And
again, look, I'm gonna give Schumacher a big old pat on the back. We've always given him, but it's look at the directors today that worked on Batman versus them, where you know what, Schumacher had the guts to say, you know what, guys. It didn't turn out like I wanted to. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, absolutely. I would Schumacher will always have my respect for that.
Certain directors with their live commentaries during quarantine are not so humble.
Oh God, which ones?
Well, I was thinking of Zack Snyder, but sure.
Oh right, right. Oh boy.
Some of
Oh
us aren't
boy.
delusional enough to say, "Oh no, those guys are alive. I just didn't shoot that."
Okay. Anyways.
Anyway, yes. By the way, the voice of Schumacher, our other Hey Arnold alumni,
Oh, is it? Okay.
it is Philip Van Dyke, the voice of Arnold.
Oh wow. Oh,
I
that's
can't remember
fucking
if it's
weird.
I can't remember if it's the original or I know I know it's my favorite voice. I can't remember if it's the original or the
Uh-huh.
second one, but Philip Van Dyke, one of the go-tos. Anyway, so as they get information from Joel here. Joel mentions like the place across the street. Oh yeah, the Cozy's Cafe was hit by the arsonist. You know, Batman.
Yeah.
Basically, they fear Batman's going after this arsonist. So let's check out the inside. Let's do a little amateur detective work. What do you say, guys? Let's go and hang out.
I'm really loving this. It kind of gives me like a vague sort of like It quality in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, nothing horrific's going to happen in the book.
Yes.
All right, so they're going inside. They're investigating. They kind of it's a little scary ambiance. It's a burned out building, and it's like, oh, Batman wouldn't run. That wouldn't be afraid. We're fine. We're using like the bat light here, and this is genius. I completely forgot about this until the rewatch. This is great. So we turn on the little signal light, which kind of projects on the wall as Carrie is there about to get into her story. So this. Carrie says, well, let me tell you about Batman, guys. He's old, like 50.
God.
And Robin's a girl. So we transition to her as Carrie Kelly. Now, here's the fun thing. With that projecting on the wall and the way we transition to the story here is that is the cover of Dark Knight Returns #2, which is what we introduce.
Yes, I caught that. Yeah.
That's when we full on introduce her in the Robin suits. That's really awesome.
This segment, you know what? As good as the 50 stuff was, I think I like the Frank Miller stuff even better, just because it's just amazing how accurate it is while still kind of being its own thing.
You can imagine this is that Bob Goodman's favorite section, given he was a huge fan of Dark Knight Returns, which is why they got him for the animated film. It's just a taste of what he's eventually going to do there.
I also like that the style. It's very much obviously like it's got like the blocky Frank Miller stuff all over the place for sure. But I feel like in terms of the actual animation, it's got a very MTV quality to it.
It does, because what they did is like they kind of, I love again with the two different animation styles. And like, here's the thing: if you look at the animation styles and what they didn't necessarily add to it; they subtracted in some cases.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Like for example, with the Frank Miller one, they dinged up the colors in the color palette. They dinged it up like the blue. It's not like a straight blue; it's like a dingy blue, like stuff like that. So, here the thing I'm really impressed by with the Frank Miller section here is that we spliced together the greatest hits of Chapter 2 of Dark Knight Returns, all the Carrie Kelly stuff. We kind of spliced together both mutant fights in a way, and this is really clever and so many great little references.
Sure, definitely.
It's like we put Carrie Kelly in the hostage situation that Zack Snyder goes crazy about, and I really hate when he does that. So, the whole the wall crashing scene, the whole like. The whole they're working in odds like, oh, chicken legs, where's the bat? And of course, we have the wall takedown. He's bursts through the wall and takes him down, which is great. I'll waste him. Believe me, I'll do it. And then we have the famed line here. Batman just crashes through the roof. A little nod to like the volume 1, like chapter 1, I guess, where it's like, I believe you. Just crashes through in the pose like when he took down Two-Face's thug in the first part. It's great. So let's the voice of Batman. What did you think about the voice of Batman?
Remind me who it is.
Michael Ironside.
Right, yeah. I think it's very, very fitting for Frank Miller Batman for sure. I think it works really well.
The really cool thing about Michael Ironside and the DCAU, and this is I forget if this is they probably had him at the same time at this point. I don't know if we're in season 3 yet or not, but Superman the Animated Series has Darkseid. Darkseid's voice is Michael Ironside.
Oh, that's cool. That's a little.
He's like that is like That's like the Conroy equivalent to your character. Like when you think Darkseid, you think Michael Ironside.
Right.
Darkseid. That's like the tier. And also, like he was in Total Recall and stuff like that. But only Michael Ironside is big. All right. So he's like a great kind of dark and older Batman voice. It's awesome. And I love
and again, I love the I love how blocky this Batman looks, and it feels like design wise, it feels straight out of the comic.
It's a wonderful. It's like a slight caricature of Frank Miller, but only slight.
Yeah.
You know, it's just filter in the. It's like we streamline the Frank because again, Frank Miller's work. I've gone on record. I've always said I prefer the animated Dark Knight Returns to the book. Not that there's anything wrong with the book, but if you look at the book in comparison, when you adapt that work in animation, it's never consistent. Like the book art style shifts a lot if you look at it.
Yes, I did notice that with the book, and I got to admit that really threw me off because the book was like, you know, because obviously when you're going through like your your initial kind of like, you're popping your graphic novel cherry dragon, you start with Watchmen and then you go to Dark Knight Returns, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's like the natural progression.
Yeah.
And it really threw me off because of course Watchmen, the style is like, obviously there's a few different styles within that book, like the Black Freighter of it all, but it's very consistent. And then Dark Knight Returns, I do vividly remember like, oh God, not all comic books are the same style issue to issue.
Yeah, I mean that thing like Miller is going a little back and forth. Like it's not a fully consistent style. So that I love that the kind of the compromise here is that okay, we're going to go broad with it, but we're going to keep it like big and blocky for everything. It's going to be great. But again, it looks like the animated series filtered through Miller, which is
Dragon with the Carrie Kelly of it all. In some ways, it looks like post-apocalyptic Daria.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, also another. I'm gonna connect our things here. Okay, so ones and zeros again. Carrie Kelly, very classically, a 60s Batman homage.
Sure.
Carrie Kelly, Jill St. John, first episode of Batman, and Miller legitimized that, kind of a more serious tone, and we kind of worked that in. Again, we had like the lighthearted Batman earlier in the episode. Now we have the full-on kind of darker one, but again, the persisting connection, 60s Batman.
Right.
All right. So of course, I love the contrast of the opposites, Batman and the very plucky sidekick Robin. Which is great. Let's see. We already talked to the design. Okay, so we get to the main crux of this short is the mutant leader. We're adapting, but here's the thing: Goodman so brilliantly melded together the mutant leader scenes with the junkyard and the mud hole. We combined them both for like Batman. Instead of only Batman has to win this fight, we go to the ladder encounter with the mud hole. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have Kevin Michael Richardson doing the voice of the mutant leader, and he loved Dark Knight Returns, so he was in heaven during this. So we have this they just think we're noisy kids, but soon they'll see we're the future. Then we have very flat silhouettes, like they're like all the shadow work. We have just the gang or like little red eye slits and all black in the distance with two exceptions.
I love the style of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, those two exceptions being my name is Rob, and my name is Don.
So, Dragon, really give the elevator pitch. Give me like the 30-second pitch of who these guys are.
Okay, Rob and Don are like the running gag mutant characters in Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
And every time the mutants kind of changes guard on who they are, like they're the ones that lead. Carrie Kelly's talking to two mutants that lead to the second fight with the mutant leader. Like they spread the word to these two numbskulls. And then when the mutants are gone, they become like kind of the neo-Nazis, sort of like they're working for Bruno. And by the end, I want to say they may or may not end up being a part of like the Sons of Batman. So they're the change. Gotcha. They're kind of our little window into the mutants, and they change kind of through the story a little bit. They're the running gag mutants. All right. Leader's Billy Berserk. We're working on all the Miller dialogue we can here. Like, Leader's Billy Berserk, man. So I will kill Batman. I will rip out...
I assume that Miller must have had some Mad Max vibes with this, right? He must have.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, at least for that sequence in the book, sure. I mean, because the junk...
Especially with the Batmobile rolling up the way it does. That's straight out of Mad Max.
Absolutely. I mean, Chapter 2 of Dark Knight Returns is absolutely the Mad Max chapter. For sure. All right, let's see. So, I'll rip the meat from his bones. I'll suck him dry. Gotham belongs to the mutants. So then we have, as you said, the amazing entrance of the giant Dark Knight Returns.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Oh, it's great. Oh, man. And they have I love this detail. We changed the color in the other one, but it's great stuff because they made it more like the comic. Here we took a stylistic change, and it's a great stylistic change. We added this red lighting in the interior.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it just looks
super tank-like.
And I love all of Ironside's dialogue as Batman. I love how sparse but really great it is. He doesn't speak a lot, but he has like these little lines here and there. It's just like, they don't even wait for an order. Kids these days, no respect. Just awesome.
Perfect.
So then he's like opening fire. It's oh my god, Batman's opening. This is such an edgy Batman. He's opening fire, but he swears, rubber bullets. Honest, he tells.
So yeah, I love how it's like we already have an out for that because it's like obviously it's like another person's interpretation of Batman. This isn't like a canonically accurate version of the Kevin Conroy Batman. But yeah, I love that they still find a way to write that in.
Yep. Rubber bullets. Honest. It's great. All right, so Carrie Kelly, so she helps out. Basically, the Batmobile's taking fire. She goes out there with her mighty slingshot, full on David and Goliath type stuff. She's using the slingshot and kind of taking out some mutants, causing some damage. Good stuff there. Then we have the money shot. Oh boy, we have the money shot. So we have the first part of the fight here, where we have like the money shot of the Batmobile's the neck of the Batmobile head, peering down at the mutant leader, like this little muscle guy, just shouting like an idiot at the tank. Just like, I call you coward. Face your death like a man. I kill you. I eat your heart. Oh god, like I show you who rules Gotham City. And then there's just this great. We just have that imposing red light shot of Batman as he straight
out of the comics, out of the comics with a silhouette.
Mm-hmm. Okay, son, show me.
Classic.
Yes, this Batman's awesome. He's so cool. So, anyways, let's see. So Batman, basically this is like again round one from Dark Knight Returns, where basically Batman loses that fight, where he's basically taking a lot of hits at the moment, getting the crappy out, but he gets a few good hits in, like when he. I forgot all about this. This is great. Where when he punches the leader in the face and really goes for his eyes, you get a POV shot of the visor, like he's all red for a second right before the punch. Bam, and then he's going for the eyes, and so Batman's getting some hits in, but again, he's 50 and he's getting up there. He's a big guy too. He spends a lot of wins. So let's see. So Batman's not doing well in the fight. Then Batman gets hit into the mud. Then we enter round two from Dark Knight Returns, and that's when things get really good. So mutants are gathering. They're watching. Rob and Don are giving some color commentary, like leaders got Batman pegged, and then of course more hits from Batman in the mud. He's dusted. They just give up on the mutant leader because they're dumb kids. So then we have the big moment. By the way, really dark moment before Carrie Kelly saves Batman's bacon in that fight too. It's a really nice bit though when you think about it. Again, we have to give Carrie, because she's telling the story, a little heroic moment where Batman's getting strangled. Like again, kids WB. We're strangling a character under mud.
Right.
It's just we're strangling him under mud. And anyway, so Carrie Kelly saves his bacon by kind of distracting the mutant leader for a second there. Then Batman goes for the big moment.
Yeah, he emerges from the mud like almost Swamp Thing style,
with a smile on his face, which is very scary.
Is this out of the comics?
What?
Is the mud thing out of the comic?
Here's the thing: he is coated in mud. I don't think he's head to toe coated.
Okay, it's a great visual, though.
I think I forget if at least one shot he's in all mud. It must be. I think he's anyway. I'm trying to think between that and the animated one. I think the mud thing is from the comic. I don't know how muddy, but yeah, it's a cool shot. So then we have just this great thing. We have the big moment. You don't get it, son. This isn't a trash heap. It's an operating table. And he basically has the mutant leader at his mercy here, and then it's like we there's only so much we can do on Kid Stuff.
Gotta love him.
Lightning strikes, because it's Frank Miller. The lightning always has to strike with Batman. We got it in there at least once. Lightning strikes. We see the silhouette of mutants look in horror. We hear like the snap, masked by the lightning, and I'm the surgeon. The rain washes away the mud like it were blood, and we hear the mutant leader whimper. Gotta love them. And that to me, that's Kids WB's response for all the new Batman Adventure stuff that we've been talking about this season right there. It's like
sure.
all the censorship stuff. Like, how did they get away with that? Gotta love them. That's their response. That's the go-to. It's like, it's Batman. You gotta love him. Even as Millery as he could get. just cool. Oh, that is cool. That's Carrie's story. And the kids, of course, they're kids. They're like, yeah, it is awesome, man. And then it's getting late. Let's head home. Before they head home, they see something, Tiki. What do they see?
Yeah, they see Batman flying towards an old abandoned building, and I really, really like this, Dragon. This, you know what? Oddly enough, Dragon, I'm going to kind of tie this back to our Hey Arnold connective tissue here.
Which, yeah.
It really reminds me of, how the kids would kind of like mythologize certain elements of the town and the city, and like, hey, let's go find Pigeon Man, so like that element of the episode really does kind of harken back to the creepy episodes of Hey Arnold, I think.
Yeah. So the kids follow what they think is Batman to an abandoned theater. I think just like a straightforward theater. I don't think it's a movie theater, but but I do like, though, thematically, we're kind of taking the kids back to where Batman starts, a theater, which ultimately, think about what's kind of sweet about the story here. Kids are inspired by a Zorro-esque figure, much like Bruce Wayne was.
Sure.
Thought it was kind of cute in the rewatch. So, the kids are in for a real show. Boy, are they. We reveal that is not Batman, but is actually Firefly. So he's been the arsonist the whole time, setting these buildings on fire in the neighborhood. So let's see. So the kids, we see he's getting like a chemical firebomb all set up to blow the place to Kingdom Come.
Can I just say I like I like the choice of Firefly in terms of like a low-level villain who still poses a threat, but he's doing something on kind of like an urban level that would affect these kids, but wouldn't really affect Gotham as a whole all that much. And I think the fact that it's not like a Penguin or a Joker, like I feel like that kind of like adds to the episode's realism, I think.
Two things. One, after I've got Batman in my basement, they are not putting Penguin in this episode.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
I'm just saying, after the backlash they got, they never kids and Penguin in the same episode. Again. Never again. But the other thing too, so yeah, in the selection of Firefly, it was kind of like it was kind of a story necessity thing. Where okay, we need someone who can kind of glide like Batman. The only one we really have would be Firefly, who in silhouette would look like Batman for these kids. So it was kind of.
I got it. Okay.
Honestly, I have an alternate pitch. Now, of course, the way things work out is perfectly fine. I have no qualms with it. But an idea occurred to me, and this would never work in the animated series, just the way the things have unfolded. But wouldn't you think Man-Bat, just giving that third kid's pitch of what Batman looks like, would have been perfect?
That would be cool.
Obviously, we couldn't do that because we solved the Kirk Langstrom story. That's why we can't get that. But, it's just kind of occurred to me. And also, last fun fact, they tried for a third story. They tried for a third story instead of the ending that we got here. But they couldn't crack it because they wanted to do a Neil Adams Batman. I've told you this many times, that Neil Adams Batman's a hard nut to crack for Bruce Timm that we didn't crack until, like, Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I think it's smart that they went with this epilogue kind of route, because I think it ties the whole episode together in a pretty memorable way, and it makes it more than just fan service.
Absolutely. So Matt tries to light the little bat signal to signal Batman to their predicament, like a hole in the theater. But the light, because Carrie's story was so good and the light was left on for so long, we're out of juice. It only lit up for a second, but for a moment. But then it went, oh, batteries are dead. The batteries are dead. So then Firefly discovers them, and I love how mirthless Firefly is. Like, okay, show yourselves. Huh, kids. That's a shame. It's like, it's not going to stop it, no mercy. It's like, well, they're goners. Hope you like it hot. The firebombs start to go off. The kids are they're in a pinch right now. But then, before Firefly escapes, bam! Batman, punches him and glides in there, man. Awesome. So then the kids are in for a show right now. The real Batman has showed up. And, the Matt's like, oh, God, oh, golly gee, you got my signal. You got it. But in reality, no. He just, it was just this whole thing of he's been tracking Firefly. Firefly's been, he's kind of been doing some low-level jobs to make money, so, insurance fraud, essentially.
Oh, man.
Poor kid. So then we have some Batman versus Firefly fight stuff. We have the Flame Saber. Batman uses the fire extinguishing spray, very 60s Batman-esque. And he cracks a joke. Sorry to put you out, which delights the kid, though. He kind of lost the signal, but he got that, though.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So Ebola wraps Firefly, so he's vanquished. The kids are trapped in the blaze, though, and this is something I want you to remember, Tiki.
Okay.
Okay, so Batman saves the kids using a clip from another episode.
Oh God.
So you haven't seen this episode yet, but they pulled
Okay,
this
okay.
Judgment Day. So Batman throws a batarang, an exploding batarang, and they needed a clip, and I guess they were in a bind over time,
Gotcha.
and
Okay,
had
I'll
some
keep an
scene
eye
with
out for
Batman.
that. That's fun. Oh
And they,
God.
in throughout New Adventures, they've reused some explosion shots. So this is like
Uh-huh.
an example of that. So I don't know if this probably I know this appears in another episode. It's like 2 episodes more is going to appear. But anyway, so point they blow a hole in the wall. Nick lingers for a bit watching the events unfold. Then we have the aftermath of Bullock. Bullock's there.
Yeah, of course he is.
Fireflies hanging above the fire, and Bullock's asking, like, who made the 911 call on this? And I love in my head canon, I like that it's a little closing the loop on the POV story. The first time they did like a Rashomon story like this, it was with Bullock, and we kind of closed it with Bullock. I thought that was
nice.
The kids are by the payphone. Clearly, they did. Now they're buzzing about it. Tiki, how's the episode end? You remember?
Well, I love that it ends with they all still have their interpretations of Batman, even though they saw him up close. And so it's kind of just like, all right, the urban legend goes on.
Nick's still convinced that he saw
again a very Hey Arnold style ending, Dragon.
Absolutely, and Nick's convinced. Like, I still don't think he's human. I thought I saw fangs.
All right, perfect. Okay, final thoughts. Honestly, Dragon, I gotta say, I'm going through my Rolodex of episodes, and there's some big ones, but this might be my number one. I gotta rewatch it. I gotta kind of go through the list and reevaluate. I'll let you know next week or whenever we record a new one. If you remember, ask me up off the top, because I do want to make sure I'm right on this, but like I genuinely can't remember an episode that hit me like this. I think that it's a perfect mix of fan service and just kind of building out the world of Gotham and the mythology and everything. I just think the writing's very on point. The style is super on point. It's pretty much perfect, Dragon. It might be my new number one
of all time.
Yeah, out of all the animated series episodes, yeah, maybe. Like I said, I have to rewatch it, and I have to go back and actually look at the list of episodes just to make sure I'm not forgetting something.
There's a lot of competition, Tiki.
Oh, I know there is. But
yeah. Okay, final thoughts for me. This simply is one of the great New Batman Adventures episodes. One of the top tier. It's easily a top fiver of the bunch. Probably a top three, if I'm being honest. But it's in there for New Adventures, no question. It's an excellent statement of the Batman fandom at large and how Batman, has permeated the culture, even if it's outside of the fandom. People have their Batman. Everyone has their Batman, and just the approach of it's just it's wonderful, just the approach of this episode, like going for so long. Batman is so malleable. We can change Batman, so long as you can change the approach of Batman any which way you like. So long as fundamentally it boils down to he's a guy in a bat suit fighting crime. That's the main constant. But do that, you can do anything you want with them. I just marvel at the animation styles of Sprang and Miller eras of Batman in this episode. I think that's great. It paves the way for Brave and the Bold and Dark Knight Returns in animation. The industry definitely took notice. I can say that for sure. I love. Again, I love that. I like that. Look, as much as I like Gotham Knight homaging this episode, there's no topping the original. Okay, this is how you do that Rashomon story. It's like a Hall of Famer for how you do that POV Batman stories, and a Hall of Fame alone for that. For like, this is like honestly just so many other stories where they try doing the Rashomon thing in animation. Like, I saw it this way, I saw it that way. It all goes back to this one, Tiki. In my opinion, I've never seen it top this one. It's always been the go-to. It's a hard one to beat. It's top marks.
All right, so Dragon, what's up next? What's up next on the docket?
Batman Out of Town, World's Finest turned Ladies' Night, A Villainous Trio. Will Batgirl and Supergirl be able to save Gotham with their mentors away? Will this episode be shocking or subtle as a mallet? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bad time, same animated bad place.
on the next visit to the animated Batcave with Girls Night Out.
This is an operating table, and I'm the surgeon.
Roll around in the tent with me, Batman.